So, guys, this is a podcast where we tell you everything according to us. Spirituality, conspiracy theories, and story times that make you feel less alone and more appreciated. This is us. Alright, guys, hello. Thanks for joining us on episode 4 of our human experience, soon to be changed name, because there are way too many human experience podcasts on Spotify.
Because I looked at different places and I was like, okay. Like, the problem is if you look up human experience, it doesn't matter what you have first, all these different things, but you're like, okay.
Human experience is a very, we need something that's more niche to us.
Well, I was thinking that I was like, I kind of, I was listening to another podcast, totally unlike ours, but, their title is just like one word, and I was like, I kind of like how it is. So I'm like, we just gotta find something. I was thinking that before, like we talked about it. I was like, kind of wish it was one word.
Consciousness. It's my favorite word.
What the first one?
We'll figure it out.
Anyways,
so
changed.
So today, I guess we can start off with your Oracle pull that you did on the way here.
So when I got here, I went to get out of the car and I found my Oracle cards. They're just Gaia Oracle cards. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So I randomly decided to pull. And I asked what was a card to pull about today, for the podcast. And the card was the reflection card. But it was a reflection that was getting rid of distortion and illusion. So it talked about how your outer reality is reflected of your inner reality. And there's other factors, but most of it, it's this reflective process. And so it was find, what are the things that you're having problems with or you're having disease with, and then figure out what is that reflecting from in your mind. That's what that one was about. So it's okay, where the
find the infected root.
Yeah, basically. It's if this is happening in your normal life, where did that come from in your mind? Where did that inkling, where did that little droplet?
I like that. I feel like I've been implementing that into my life very recently too.
I feel I was telling someone the other day, we were talking about emotions. Someone was talking about anger, for people. And I was I used to be really, when I would get angry at someone, I would stay really mad at them. Now, I don't really get mad at people, per se. The situations might make me mad, what I'm dealing with in that moment, feeling is mad. But, I don't really get angry at the person, because now I'm what happened? What's going on in my mind?
Right.
Anytime someone, happens to, really pisses me off, I'm just why? Which I think we talked about that.
But I think you also, because Brittany and I were talking about this the other night, I think you have to also find balance with that. Because
you definitely do.
You can invalidate yourself constantly.
Yes, and that is a big issue too.
That's what we were talking about that she does a lot and she was like, I'm going to have to journal about that, because she was like, do I invalidate myself? And I was like, with what you're saying to me from an outside perspective, yes, you invalidate your own emotions and feelings quite often because you want to understand everybody else's perspective.
Yeah.
And it's you get so focused on everybody else's perspective that you lose sight of your own.
Yeah, it's you gotta
you still have to have your own opinion and set of beliefs.
Yeah. And it is a weird balance, because
it's a very tricky balance.
It's so tricky just because in society, you're born, and most people are raised to only think of life from their perspective. So when you become an adult and you're perspectives are a thing.
It took me 25 years to realize that not everybody thinks like me.
It took me a long time, probably 23, 24, maybe almost 25, honestly, but where I've really realized that I was 24 because when I found out the idea, and I was you mean people aren't like this?
You mean people don't have 4 or 5 different people in their head?
You mean no? Oh, that's not okay. So that was kind of when I realized, and then the affirmation thing, I was so I realized at 24, a lot of things. The point is that shouldn't have took that long. Like, we should have been taught this as a kid. But I feel like that's what makes it really hard with like trying to like not invalidate your own feelings, is that when you're trying to now, like for like me, maybe for you too, like for me, like probably like when I'm trying to keep everyone's perspective in mind, because I never did when I was younger. Sometimes like now, like I because I'm trying to compensate, I feel like, for the fact that I never did, that I'm like trying to analyze it so hard that I'll forget that I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah. Like she was talking to me and explaining things in such a deep level, and she had to keep explaining on top of whatever she just said previously, because I would get more confused almost. And I was like, are you telling me you read this deeply into somebody's why when you're just having a normal day-to-day conversation with them? And yes. And I was like, that's not,
I think
quote unquote normal.
It's not quote unquote normal, but I do think that plays into autism.
Definitely plays
because she's like, we're trying really hard to feel mine though, so confused.
Yes, but it's gotten like it just spiraled. Yeah,
it's
excessive. Yeah.
Well,
but it's just so interesting to me. Like, I just love learning about. People's minds. I just love hearing their perspective and like the way that they think and why, and like. But we were just talking about like being present in conversation and how, she struggles with disassociating a lot in conversation.
I got the diagnosis.
And I was just like, what do you mean so does reality only exist in your head?
It's a confusing.
Because if you're interacting with people but you're disassociated while you're interacting with them, or you're not present.
It's what I like to say when you this is how I describe dissociating to people. For the rare, like for people
I do it.
Yeah, like most people dissociate in different extents. To the rare people that have never dissociated in their life,
Pisces.
I don't know what that's like. It's essentially like there's some people that have it, or really rarely ever don't. Like, it's crazy.
I can't imagine being fully present.
Me fucking either. It's essentially like if you were playing Sims, you just put it on fast forward. So you clicked, conversate with Dom.
Right.
And then after you click conversate with Dom, you click fast forward through the conversation. So like you clicked it, you're having conversating, but you were like,
and then you have to like go back and you're like, can I read the Spark Notes? Do I?
Literally.
With the Spark Notes.
I'm bad about that. It makes it worse when I'm like in a triggered state. I don't remember jack shit.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Like,
if I'm triggered, I just have to remove myself from the situation.
It's so
like I'm gonna say something that I don't remember and I don't mean, and I'm gonna regret it.
I'm bad about like I'll say something or say like this happened with like Sam and I many times where like I'll say something, he'll say that, and he's like, and he'll go to say, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, what I just said, and I was like. And he's like, did you not hear the words I said? I did hear them.
I didn't process them.
Yeah, I was like, not a singular processed. I don't know what you just said. And he was like, do you even remember what it's about? And I'm like, maybe you can remind me. And he's just like, I don't understand how you're like, my brain just
disassociate. Like, it just goes off. It's
my
like,
brain was just
you
like,
can say one word and it's like a cat, squirrel.
Literally. Bro. I'm like, people don't even realize, like, I feel like, honestly.
I think that's the ADHD though.
Well, that adds here. That definitely adds to it.
Does it just make it worse? Shit.
I feel like
I've been noticing my ADHD very present lately, and we're also starting our 6-week break from marijuana today. So I'm sure I will notice my unmedicated ADHD very much over the next few weeks. I'm going to start journaling about it. Probably.
That's fair. I told Sam my phone, we were sitting down and I was describing something. So I was talking to someone, they have ADD, and they were describing like how it was like for them. And I was like, I told Sam, I said, is this ADD? And he was like, what? And I was explaining to him. He's like, I mean, if you just explain it in that way, it does sound like ADD. I said, because like I was talking to this dude, Gabe, who like has been diagnosed with ADD his whole life. And we were talking about like concentration, and like he was talking about how like sometimes it really is like a task. Like, it's really hard to concentrate. It's a really,
Oh,
and I was like, yeah, it is, totally. And he was like, do you ever have, like, we were talking, and
so you have to force yourself to concentrate, and then you're like focused so hard on concentrating, you're like, what am I concentrating on?
Yeah. And then like, I hate when, like, I'm so concentrated that I really am concentrated on it, but I'm concentrated on watching it, not retaining it. So then I don't even remember what the fuck I was doing.
Exactly. But what was Gabe? What were y'all talking about?
Fuck, I remember.
Oh, no!
And the example was me.
And there's your ADHD example. Some reason you thought it was ADD. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But
it was something about how we were describing how our like brains like work when it came to like focusing things. I was like, and like how like his like memory like works. And I was like, maybe part of it is that. Like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I just thought this whole time. I was like, I thought attention came easy. I thought attention was the same for everybody. I didn't realize like, don't get me wrong, like everyone like has a attention like span.
yes,
But I didn't realize like how difficult it is for me to pay attention. I just thought everyone.
I realized
was
that early on, but I thought
everyone had that issue.
Yeah, same.
That's how I felt about the autism and DID too, though.
You just assume.
That's why you got to talk about what's going on in your life.
Perspectives are important.
Yeah, because then you're like,
wild.
oh, you don't think like that? Okay.
You're just like, wow. You made me question a lot of things.
That's always been my favorite. We were like,
and I think Brittany could even possibly have ADHD because like she'll get hyper-fixated on things and like just can't break focus on that thing for hours.
When I get hyper focused on something, the problem I have is just that like I don't know how to come out of the hyper focus in a normal state. Like when I come out of hyper focus, I'm not normal me. When I come out of hyper focus, I'm just like I'm blank. Like I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm a shell of a human.
I'm a shell. There's nothing.
Yeah, like it just feels empty. I'm just like, I need to go back to hyperfixation. People call it the
Okay.
Is it in? Have you seen the movie Soul by Disney?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how they go into like that, like the void place where they're like when they're hyper focused and they're in that realm and they're like playing their instruments and painting. And like that's what it feels like when I'm hyper focused. When I come back to it, I'm just like, this is pointless. This reality sucks.
See, it's hard for me to like realize and pinpoint like what I hyper focus and hyper fixate on because the only thing that I can really see is cleaning. The cleaning binges really get me, man. And Brittany will be like, come here, come love me, come give me a hug. And I'm like, I have to clean. I cannot stop my task. What do you mean you want me to come hug you right now? I am cleaning.
Like, hug.
And I'm like, I have to like literally, and I feel like there's so much energy inside my body, and I'm like, all right, come here, give me a hug, and I hold her, but my body is vibrating, and like my mind's going so fast. I'm like, I gotta finish this task, and I started this one, and I started this one, and I started this, and I'm like, I need to smoke some damn weed.
Yes, I feel like I get bitchy when I get hyper focused because all I care about is what I'm hyper focused on, and I don't even mean to be bitchy. I'm just like, I need to do this. Like, there's sometimes I
get hella bitchy, and I'm like, damn, I'm sorry. I was just hyper-focused.
Yeah, like, sorry, I was just paying attention. Like, you don't have attention or it's hyper-focused.
What I hate is when you have something to do later on in the day.
On something.
Well, no, it's just like the paralysis, where it's like, you're
in waiting mode.
Yes. Like, I can't do much else if I know I have my massage today at 2:45. The only thing I could do this morning was the podcast because I might not have time to finish something else because time frames for me are difficult. Like we were talking about, I move slower doing things, accomplishing tasks because like, I don't know, I get distracted a lot.
Because this body lives in slow-mo, bitch. Time is of your choice. I'm telling you, this body lives in slow-mo. I am tired of trying to keep up with the fast, like, rewind.
But my brain doesn't. My brain does not live in slow-mo.
My body...
Is there a switch?
I feel like what it is... But here's what I think it is, okay? It's one or the other is always going to be faster than the other, right? Like, that's my theory. There's yin-yang. One's fast, one's slow. So you can either do what the robotic people do, which is have their body and fast forward in their mind on slow-mo, and they're 10 years later being like, holy shit, I did that 10 years ago, and they're so out of it. Or you can have your mind in hyper mode, your body's taking its slow ass time, doing whatever it needs to do, but your mind's figuring out a step ahead. I prefer that. I do it the other way, that was doo-doo.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%.
The other way, man.
100%, because I feel like the other way you don't have self-awareness.
Yes, exactly. You can live fast.
But on this way, you're just like maybe a little too aware.
You're like very self-aware, but like can't fix any of the problems.
You're just like, oh shit.
That's my favorite. Like the fun part about being self-aware is you're aware of all your problems, but that doesn't stop them.
Yeah.
You're like,
well, and I also learned that like you can't get too fixated on fixing your problems, because then it trains your brain that there's something wrong with you and there's always something to fix.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to find the balance of the inner healing and working on myself and digging all that nasty dark shit up and processing it, going through it, feeling it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I, for a while, was getting way too caught up in it. And then my TikTok algorithm knew. She was like, girls get too caught up in healing. And so all these videos started coming out of, I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but you are great. You are perfectly okay the way that you are right now.
I was gonna say, I feel
take a breath and look back on how much you have grown in the last few weeks, months, whatever. And I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I don't even know that bitch right now. Straight up. Like parts of her here.
But it's like I'm not.
But I am so different than I was this summer. It's wild to me. It blows my mind.
Oh yeah. I got on kicks too. I feel like my self kick, like the problem why I get really sucked into the self kicks is this ties back what I was gonna say earlier about you were like, I don't really need like the hyper focus thing. Or like what you do though, you don't do it on short term. You get hyper focused on bigger topics, bigger like your interests. Those are your hyper fixated. You get into something, you immediately are like hyper fixated. I'm gonna get everything for it. Like that's how you are. So you, you do that with everything, just not all the small things.
I'm not me waiting for you to identify the pattern in me. Like Brittany does it all the time for me. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, love you. But
no, but I do. I feel like I have new topics of interest and new things I want to.
Yeah, hyper fixated special interests really bad. Yeah, it's just like new interest.
Mm-hmm. And then like if I go and I'm really excited about a special interest and I go to try and tell someone about it,
they don't like it.
And they don't like
the same energy.
Yeah, they don't give that same energy. My rejection feeling of ADHD is just like,
see, here's the thing. For most of my life,
I'm like, they hate. I'm like, girl, calm down. Why are you talking to yourself like this?
For most of my life, I would get really shelled up and quiet. Like I'd be sad. I'm like, they hate me. They think I'm annoying. They don't want anything to do with me. Now it's somewhat like now if I like am being really excited about something and I like tell someone and they don't give like they're like just like cool. And like they're really not even good. I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna remember this next time I have an exciting moment in my life because you're not the one to share it with. I can't believe you didn't even pretend to be excited for me.
I had to tell Brittany, I was like, just pretend.
Just pretend. I told her that. I'm like, just pretend. Like, and sometimes I'm like, I'm so excited. And how do you look me in the face and go, cool, I guess.
Literally.
Like, bitch.
Literally, like, even if I have no idea what the hell
I'm just like, tell me about it.
I'm like, that is so awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. So cool. I'm happy that you're happy right now. I want to share and I want to mirror your
That's what I'm saying.
So when it's like you walk up to this mirror and you're like, I'm gonna throw this energy, and then the mirror throws this energy back at you, you're like,
what the fuck?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
You know, like you return the energy, you pretend to return it, you fake it till you make it. Exactly. Fucking can't pretend to be excited for me. Drive me, you make me mad. I'm just like, it used to make me sad.
Is it just my ego that's like getting all like.
Well, I mean, for sure, but like. Why honestly I used to be really sad about it. Then I got mad because I was like, after I started thinking, I'm like, am I holding people to unrealistic standards? I'm like, no. That's what I give to other people, so I'll expect that energy return. So I'm like, no, I'm asking for bare damn minimum. Just go, oh my god, that's so cool. That's so exciting.
See, and that's where, like, I don't know, man. Just like the deeper, because back to Brittany and I's conversation the other night, she was telling me how she like searches for the why in people. Like,
That's the hardest thing to search for, why, because you'll be there forever.
Exactly, and you'll never know because
No.
some people don't even know their own whys, and so it's just all. You're basically just creating all of this philosophy in your head of all these questions and all of these possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just spiraling.
Yeah.
You gotta. That's when you have to train your brain to stop asking those questions. Or
Yeah.
like, I don't know exactly what to do in the situation. I was like, all right, maybe it's time to call the therapist.
Yeah.
And see, because she was like, well, how do I stop? And I was like, that's where I don't know. I can only give you my perspective of.
You're like, that's
very interesting. That's not normal because that's not even remotely close to the way I think.
Right. You're like, not
conversation,
even. So I have no concept with that one. Yeah, I'm bad about that too.
I was very confused, honestly, when she was trying to
So
explain.
you don't do that, like.
Sometimes, and I've started doing it recently, where people will be talking and they'll telling me about something, and I'm like, everything you're saying, this is what you actually mean. But at the end of the day, it's like, who am I to say that they actually mean that?
Yeah, see, I totally get that.
Just reading too deep into things.
I totally get that, because I feel like I've always read too deep into everyone. I mean, I feel like everyone tries to read people, but
I think that's just the autism.
Makes it really bad.
I don't try to read into people like that, and I literally didn't even know what body language was until I met Brittany.
So that just came, like, you sitting like that. That's natural? That's how you would be sitting and talking if you never.
Yes, I didn't have to consciously think about my hand movement, body language. I didn't know what that. So she could read me so easily because I was just giving all of these body language cues off.
Yeah.
So I had to. I was like, I don't want her to read me so easily because she knew me better than I knew me. And that freaked me out. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so I had to go and learn all this psychology, body language.
Sam's better at body language than I am, but we're both pretty like decent at it. But like Sam's really good at body language, and he's done it to her.
I feel like that maybe is more the male version.
Yeah, like he's very like, he can look at you and he's like, he can like tell us word. But like I told him, like,
see, I just feel it. Like, I can just feel people's energy. I'm like, something's wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, I can feel someone's energy now. Now I'm on the current kick where I keep getting TikToks, TikTok knows, like, where I keep getting these TikToks of girls being like, you know what? I'm tired of knowing all of you are liars. I'm just gonna pretend like all of you never lied to me. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, good girl, I'm glad for you. I don't care how you can be crying. If you tell me you're fine, fine. I'm not pushing you. I'm tired of reading into it. Like, it gets so much energy. Yeah. It's so much energy to sit there and like analyze so hard. I'm like, if you're not,
I was like, that seems like a lot of energy.
It's a lot of fucking work. That's why being social is a lot of energy.
And it goes hand in hand with being stuck in survival mode.
Yeah, it drains the fuck out of you.
Because if you're stuck in survival mode, and because I think part of that comes from the autism, but the other half of it comes from her trauma, right? Her PTSD, and like not being able to trust people. So it's like ads. So I feel like half of it is the survival mode and trauma, and so it's like just a matter of retraining your brain.
Yeah,
and figuring out how to begin that.
Like, I mean, I know I compare life to The Sims literally every day, multiple times a day.
You haven't done it for this episode yet, so I guess it's fun.
What? I didn't remember talking about fast forwarding when you're dissociating. It feels like you're fast forwarding.
Okay, but that you didn't talk. You didn't.
Not say it exactly, but
that's just like a TV.
Yeah. You know, I compare it to Sims a lot. This is something we talked about earlier. We're talking about like the self kick, like you get them like kicks, so like trying to fix yourself. Mm-hmm. What I started to remind myself is I'm just like, hey, babe, I made you in The Sims, and when you make a Sim, you pick personality traits. You pick these things about them. You have to pick negatives and positives. Do you remember that? Like, so you are going to have these things, and I picked that. Like, I chose you to have these problems.
You can't have
because
the
we
good
can
without
handle
the
it.
bad.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like we chose. Hey, I'll choose a lazy sim because I know I can get that bitch moving.
Right.
Like,
because you have the tools.
exactly. It's
to
like you
get her motivated.
choose. Like there's different because like all your negative traits have positives, and same with positive traits have negative.
Duality.
Like, yeah, so it's like
It's literally yin and yang.
yeah, it's like you have all these like negative and positive traits, but it's like the thing I keep saying where it's like, okay, you've been hyper fixating on trying to heal. Just take the things you go, okay, here are my problems. Here are things I don't like about myself, and I can't figure out how to fix it. Now look for why those things are actually benefiting you. And that's the hard part. Because it's like the things that I hate. But the thing I like saw somewhere, and I've been trying to work on that, where it's like,
They're
okay,
there for a reason.
yeah, it's like all the things that I really hate. Like, how is it benefiting me? Like the more like selfish, like thought patterns, stuff like that. Like, how does that actually benefit
It's
me?
a protecting.
Yeah, and it's like, well, and it's like, okay, that does this, and it's like,
you.
yeah, and it's like even more than that. It's okay, how does it currently still benefit? Well, it's like, well,
And then if you find things that aren't currently serving you at all, it's like, okay, well, that we can.
yeah,
get rid
it's
of,
really
and we
easy
can
to like
move it.
cipher and throw it because you're like going through. It's like,
You're like, that doesn't serve me or my higher purpose anymore. And I started doing that.
yeah, it's like you're
That
going through that
mirror
file
talk
cabinet.
you told me about. I did it a couple of times. I said, all right, you listen up. Because I noticed I got triggered over something just like super small. And like I got so angry, like just rage. And I looked in the mirror, I said, come here. I said, you come here. I got real close up in the mirror and I said, you look at me right now. This anger, this just rage that no longer serves me and my higher purpose, get out. You are not welcome. Straight up, I do not want you here. And like, I've done it a couple of times, and got to go through the exercises, and it takes practice. Obviously, it's not a one and done kind of thing, but like over the last couple of weeks, like I noticed myself getting angry over I was trying to tear up a box, and it was hard, and I couldn't tear it, and I was like, "You about to piss me off?" And I was like, "An inanimate object is about to piss you off, though. Really? You're gonna let a box piss you? Take a breath, move your hands, and then tear the rest of it." Like I was like, girl, what are you doing?
That's my hair.
And it's just like,
I think astrologically a lot of stuff was like coming out like the past like week or so.
it was.
So like that makes sense too. So I've been having lazy
throwing it all away.
Yeah, I've been puking it up.
Basically, puking it up,
spitting it out like a loogie.
Basically, it was funny. I got a text from your mom this morning, and she's like, she kind of gave me just a little reading. It wasn't a pull, but it was a reading about the new moon and everything, and how it was like gonna bring up emotions. And I was like, it's kind of funny. Like I feel like I dealt with what she was talking about like last week and stuff like that. But today I feel like I'm ready for the fresh start.
Listen to
like I'm like I don't even need to focus on what I need to let go of because I've already let it go.
Here's the thing. I've noticed this pattern. And all I'm gonna say is, I've noticed the pattern, and it's the women in biological women and biological men that's called this where I see the difference, which is why I'm like, I don't know why this is. Almost every motherfucking man I know, biological man, when the new moon comes, the new moon's shitty for them, and they have all that shit. Every biological woman I know, the week before they purge all that, and new moon, they're great. New moon, me and my mom are like, oh, we love the new moon. Michael and Sam are like, I fucking hate the new
full
moon.
moons though. I'm like, this is a lot.
Exactly. I'm telling you, I've noticed it where I'm just like, because every new moon, like I thought that day, I said, see, I said, I'm hungover today. I'm still doing good.
That's crazy. That's awesome though.
Yeah, I'm just like, I've noticed that. But
I
I'm
like
just
that.
like, I don't know if it's like, maybe it also a big thing is like all the women in our life, in my immediate life are all very intuitive, like witchy. So like we're all like probably like more in tune, so like feeling when those things are coming up and dealing with them faster.
Right.
Compared to like, I guess some people, if you don't like, how I view it is, if you don't work on what you need to work on by like the new moon, you either have to work on it when new moon hits because it's gonna force you to, or you upgrade because you've been working on it.
Right.
And that's how I always like view it.
I've started noticing that pattern too. Though,
yeah, I'm just like, oh, look, I did it.
Because like,
I'm like, oh, Brandon.
On the full moon, what was it like? It's like 4 weeks. It's like a 4-week cycle, something like that. There's a new moon and a full moon each month, right?
Yeah.
You said yeah.
I know that, like,
I love that.
I was like, I know that part of me has that memory banks, but I have no fucking clue.
Okay, well, on the full moon, I think it was Aquarius full moon, a few weeks ago. And I just was not feeling good during her. Like, I was just,
Me either.
I just remember just feeling so much, and like, I just needed to, like, I don't know, purge all of this crap that's been stuck in me. And I've had a couple of friends like text me like, all right, what planet is in microwave right now?
You're like, yo, what the fuck's going on?
What's in microwave retrograde? What is happening? And I said, well, I'm sure there's a lot going on in astrology.
Dude, like, I can't keep up with astrology. It's so much. Like, I wish I could. I just don't, like, it's such a thing to build because there's so much to understand. But, like, I have this, like, astrologer, like, friend, and, like, he'll post stuff. Like, the other day I messaged him and I was like, I have no drive. I have no motivation. I don't want to do anything. Am I depressed or is there something going on in the stars? And he was like, well, there's no fire sign placements. And I was like, fuck that. It's like, there's no fire sign placements out in the sky right now?
There's no fire. There's no
I was like, yeah, there's no fucking motivation. I'm like, that's why. I'm sitting here like, why do I have no drive? No.
Which day was this?
I don't know. It was like a few days ago. I think I was just like, what the fuck? I was like, I don't want to do anything. And I was like, it might be depression, but it also was probably that combination.
I also saw a video that was interesting, and it was about energetic workers, light workers, healers, basically just spiritual, intuitive people like that, are like being attacked essentially in the world right now in general because
I want to do an egg cleanse.
What?
I want to do an egg cleanse.
We should both do that.
Like, cause I keep wanting to do it, and I keep feeling like I should do it, but I just keep forgetting to do it, and I keep seeing that stuff too. And something
we can do it.
This has been cutting off again, but on the way here, before I forget about part, on the way here, I felt like my energy was really weird, and I just like literally sat there like and started calling like energy that was on me that wasn't mine, like to go back. And I was like, I remember like I usually just say like send it back with love and blah blah blah. I said I was like, I don't care if the energy was here to hurt me or protect me. If it's not mine, say back. And I was like, why did I clarify the energy it might be there to hurt me? And I've never like said that. And I was like, I think intuitively I feel that something's going on. Like, cause I never like say that.
Yeah, I've been feeling like
something's up.
Intuitively, something's up. Like I can't put my finger on it. I couldn't put it into words. It's just like a feeling of like, I just know that I have to keep my vibration as high as I can and as strong as I can, because there are going to be people directly trying to lower that shit and knock me down. And like, especially with the whole talk about the war and everything. And it's like, girl, as a collective, we agree on everything that's happening in the world right now. So as a collective, we should agree that this war does not need to happen. We just need to like nod, okay? So, yeah. But I saw a video about basically just all of these negative attacks, energy attacks on all of these people trying to bring about the new Earth, the 5D, the consciousness shift, because there are the powerful people out there that know the same things that we know, but want to use it for quote unquote bad.
Right. The other, like,
because there's good and bad, but there's no right and wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say there are opposites. There's no right and wrong. So, like, someone told me,
there's good feelings and bad feelings, but some person can
your body
one thing feels good when the other
exactly.
person
I was going to say your body doesn't understand good and bad. Your body understands feelings.
So there's just duality, and
it's like someone told me before.
There's a low vibration and a high vibration. That there is.
Yeah.
Like that's the different ends of the spectrum.
I think I was in high school, maybe.
Light and dark.
And I think my physics teacher, he was saying something, we were talking about people. He was like, there's one thing, you need to remember. And he was advising us so we knew how to manipulate people. But he was like, if you keep this in mind, he was like, you'll always be able to navigate to get what you want out of the situation. And I was like, about to say. And I won't lie, it's so simple and easy, but it is true. Where he said everyone believes they're the hero. Everyone believes they're the good guy because no one's doing something out of a bad moral. So he's like, how do you think you can get in with? Let's say Hitler was here right now. Hitler believes he's a hero. How do you get on his good side? You side with that. You go, you work with it. He's like, so any situation, he's like, because it's your ego, you feed into the ego just a little bit, you get away in. And I remember him telling us that in high school, and I was like, he also told us how to gamble. We didn't learn physics.
Yo, I'm just shook. I'm shook.
Yeah. He was like, no one is the bad guy. He was like, if you were to go to Hitler on his dying bed, he would probably still tell you, I did everything to be a good guy. It's because people only know no one wants to be the bad guy. It's just that they have their concept of what is good and what is bad.
It's through everything learned. Because you got to think, obviously Homeboy's childhood was not.
He's like, you got so many things that play into it. Like even we go into artists like serial killers, and a lot of serial killers, like, they're not trying to be bad people.
No.
And there are multiple serial killers who turn themselves in and they're like, stop me, I don't want to do this. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like no one wants to be this shitty, awful human.
Especially like if you've ever watched Criminal Minds and you see how they break it down, how almost every single serial killer, it's all broken down from their childhood and the profile. And it's like they're
bad programming.
Caught in this bad programming. They are caught in this triggered state where they see a bitch that looks like their mom and they're like, yo, I gotta slice her up and kill her now. And like, what? And it's literally just from their programming. Like, you can't, they don't understand. And well, some of them do understand that it's wrong because they grew up and they're like, oh, okay, that's not right.
But that's it is wrong, a very like unquote gray field. Like, I used to want to work for the FBI.
Me too.
I wanted to
be a profiler.
Me too. I wanted to be the computer one.
Penelope.
Yeah, I was Penelope in my head. So I feel like I still kind of vibe with the look. So we match.
No. Just the hair and the glasses. Yep. So that is just the energy.
Yeah. So like I just loved her so much, and I wanted that job so much because I was really like I got into like
the fact that job is like very real too.
I literally when I first like. It sounds bad to say when I first got obsessed with serial killers, but I was hyper-fixated.
There's a lot of people that are.
I was hyper-fixated on them. It was a special interest at the time. And I used to watch a bunch of stuff. And it was strictly because I love the human mind. So, like, the thing that I always, like, would tell people, because people would be like, how are you going to say you have a favorite serial killer? They're like, that's really, I'm like, oh, I know. But, like, listen, like, because, like, if you think, like, if you fully understand, like, the more you understand about other people, it's so fascinating.
It is.
Because, like...
It's scary, but it's
scary, but it's fascinating. But to me, the coolest part about it, it's not that cool now because I'm not fucking doing anything about the fact that we know this with pattern recognition. I want to see the pattern. Everything very clearly. Like, all these, like, issues with people being, like, bad people and whatever the fuck. So my question is, why as a society are we so aware in both a small and a large, like a serial killer like situation, that your childhood is that important, yet we still don't do shit to fix people's childhoods?
Because it's a lot of work.
Like, we acknowledge that, like, most, like, adults with problems are because they had bad programming as a kid, but we've made zero effort to try to help that at all. Like, they haven't even tried to signal anything. They're just like, whoever has a kid, raise them how you want.
Yup, basically. Yes.
I guess
nobody makes.
But you know
like,
what?
Just raise your kids however you want.
But you know what, though? This is a complicated sitch because it goes back into there is no
people are
good and bad.
Right.
So the problem is,
so it's like, who's to say
if you were to mandate, because the problem is that's what's wrong with, like, in my opinion, what's wrong with, like, the school system is that it's geared for everyone does this and not specific. So it's like, well,
it's also
one person decided that is what should be it.
Right. Well, also, like,
our school is geared for.
If you want to go really deep, yeah, of course, it's geared to make you just listen to authority and, like,
you the kids, sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah, so I think it just goes a little bit deeper of the people that are in control running things know these things.
Oh yeah.
But also, this is crazy. So Tuesday, Mardi Gras Day, we're walking around New Orleans, and like I was a little tipsy, and I was just kind of like thinking about things and watching everybody walk around the streets, and it was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm experiencing the universe and life and existence right now in this one perspective, walking down the streets of New Orleans with all of the things that I've known and learned my entire life. And then Z's walking right in front of me, and I was like, wow.
Same shit.
Same exact thing. We are all just a piece of the universe in these bodies, learning about ourselves and learning about the universe. So those bad things are necessary for us to learn about the good things.
Yeah. And
it's literally, if you want to experience joy and happiness and bliss, you have to be willing to experience fucking pain and just raw, just hurt and anger and bad feelings to be able to experience those good ones.
But
so it's like you kind of have to just appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like the whole concept of like, to manifest, you have to, it's like you have to be willing to have the lack of it in order to receive it. It's like, it's the same thing for everything. You have to have the lack of happiness, which is like sadness, in order to ever have happiness. It's like, it's just like, that's just how that's how this realm works.
Exactly. And there's different levels of it, and when you get to the different levels, you ascend. So it's like, God, you have the level of like raping and murdering and all of this bad stuff in life, and then like the opposite of that is to just kind of like, I don't know, I guess live a good life with none of that stuff.
Right.
But what if you don't want to experience any of those bad things to that level? So it's like, God, it's so hard to explain. I'm like, I have this visual in my head right now, and I wish I could show it to you.
Me too. I'm just like, oh, what does it look like?
Like, have you ever seen the picture where it's like kind of like looks like a DNA strand almost, and it's like you've got the old, like the primates and the dinosaurs, and it's like the world, and it's like shifting to, it's like we're only at the like the bottom, like second curve.
Yeah,
we're like barely to ascending, and like
we're not that far. Yeah, I was like, we're not that far from a blank page on the paper. Like, literally, like.
Well, we hope you guys enjoy the content of today's episode. We hope it, maybe brought a little bit of insight or helpful tidbits of information, whatever it is. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Love and light.
Yes, if there's anything y'all ever want us to talk about, let us know.
Yes, please comment on our videos, comment on our TikToks. If you have any questions, any topics you want us to talk about, please let us know. We will gladly.
I'm saying, give us a topic. We'll pull it up and just start rambling.
Yes, please. That is so fun. We'll answer questions one day when we have enough.
Yeah, one day we'll do that. It'll be fun.